promote like I'm some guru, like I got the answer to all of the questions of the world, because I don't. I am a student of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and a student of the teachings of Jesus Christ, a student of the teachings of truth. And truth is my religion. Teachings of truth. And truth is my religion. I believe that we're making a dangerous mistake by thinking that because we get a vision or a dream, that we, instead of analyzing the dream, instead of asking God questions about what we saw and being patient to find out the proper answer, we immediately jump and think that because we are who we think we are, all of a sudden we got this clear message. And we're destroying a lot of people's lives that way. Unfortunately, the church is destroying a lot of people's lives because you think that you're so perfect that you want people to follow your way because you think that your way is the perfect way. But I want to give an analogy real quick. I don't know how long they'll give me on TikTok, but if I go off on TikTok, you can come to my page on YouTube at the 19 Report. That's one word, TH, the number 19, REPORT, the 19 Report, and you should be able to see the rest of the live there. I want to give an example. Let's say there's a car dealership, and each part of the car has a place that some workers work. Some workers just put the tires on. Some workers put the doors on. Some workers do the painting. Some workers put in different modules and different mechanisms that make the car work. But the person that does the tires never goes down to the door section trying to tell the door people how to put on a door. The person that's doing the tires may, if they see a mistake, they may say, listen, this is a mistake, but they never tell them their job. The problem with people of power and people who think they have power and people who have been given power is that they think that everything that comes out of their mouth is the answer to everyone's problem. That is not the way God works. God gives all of us a piece. That's why it's called the body of Christ. And I'm not talking about a blonde hair dude. I'm talking about the bronze skin guy. That's why it's called the body of Christ, because each part has to come together to work as a whole. And unfortunately, the church is not working as a whole. I want to read something to you real quickly as we go forward. But this is the thing that I want us to keep in mind, that saying that God is telling us what to do, how to do it, telling us to tell you what you need to do to grow and how to prosper, and it's not working. I want to read something to you because there's a difference between belief and knowing. There's a difference between facts and knowing. In between the facts and belief is God's decision to either make it a fact or leave it as a belief. So the ultimate aim of this all is the highest source, God. And I'm going to explain to you what God is so we can stop in this mystery world of thinking that we can handle it because we practice mysticism or esoteric knowledge. And most of the people who do that literally get high to do that. And if you're in the business of getting high to try to find God, well, you're on the wrong path to start with. Because you can't force God's hand. Today's topic, Black slave masters, how we became our worst enemies. I'm looking at my monitor here because my monitor here, I can't find the plug to my network computer, my big computer, and none of these plugs work. So I'm using a smaller computer and it doesn't move as fast. So on Facebook, if it's skipping, I apologize. I am trying to record it though. I want to put this up on the screen. And I hope you can see it on Facebook. The title in the Chronicle of Philanthropy states, 15,000 churches will close this year. Each could be a home for civic revival. Civic. During the 60s, 50s, 60s, they were fighting for civil rights. Civil rights. What the main topic of attention should have been was human rights. A person must first be treated human. The trick of civil rights is this, that there was a organizer, his name was Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin, look it up, Bayard Rustin. He was a homosexual organizer who actually organized the March on Washington, Bayard Rustin. What Bayard Rustin did in order to make the March on Washington bigger is Bayard Rustin included homosexuals, Jewish people, all of these people who were trying to get civil rights, trying to get laws put into place to protect them. All of these people marched on Washington with Dr. King. So you thought it was all about the mistreatment of our people, black people. So we thought that that's specifically what Dr. King was trying to pinpoint, but it wasn't. I'm coming to a point. Y'all know how I operate. If I go off on TikTok, come to Facebook, give me an hour. I need an hour by God's permission to finish what I'm doing. But I put all the things into perspective, focus on what I'm saying, and then by God's permission, we end it at a certain point. 15,000 churches will close this year. Each could be a home for civic revival. 15,000 churches. But check this out. Check out the biggest prediction, though. And I want to read this verbatim. The National Council of Churches estimates that 100,000 churches will close in the coming years. The former president of Lifeway Christian Resource predicts that 15,000 churches will shutter in 2025 alone. It begs the question, what will happen to all these empty church buildings that were once such an integral part of life for so many Americans? 15,000 churches closing. Why? Because each church that was open was supposed to invite the people in, analyze their gifts, exercise the wickedness of their gifts, help the individual to clean up their gift so that their gift could be an integral part of the whole of the body of Christ. I hope we understand that. The analogy I gave in the beginning was the car manufacturer who some made tires, some made doors, some made mechanisms, some made windshield wipers, some made the glass. But at the end of the what do you call it? At the end of the production line, you got a Mercedes, a Acura, a Ford, a Tacoma, you got a Cadillac, but it's all put together because everyone played their part. Specifically, mathematically, we must do it this way in order for it to function in accordance to the way we calculated. Now, in 2025, all of the car dealerships are calling back cars. Chevy, Ford, all of them, the engines, the motors are no good because people did not perform in accordance to what their job description required. If you remember in Detroit, the Ford dealership, when it closed down, the owners of the Ford dealership, one of their main rules was a man had to be married. He couldn't cheat on his wife. He couldn't bring anything to the job that would distract him from making a perfect vehicle. And what happened is our people, black people, started getting more money than they ever seen in their life. And on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, they getting drunk, they getting high, they partying, they having affairs. And on Monday, they came in and created subpar vehicles. So there was so many recalls on the vehicles in Detroit that they had to shut down the company. And there's a documentary on it. You can see men coming out of that plant crying like babies. But did they take responsibility for what they did, contrary to what was required of them to maintain the job and maintain the business? We're talking today about black slave masters and how we became our own worst enemy. We are, let me see. We are It's 9:17. See how far we are into this thing. Thank y'all for tuning in too. I wanted to make a base for it. We are 11 minutes in. We're doing great, doing great. So I want to get into this then. Many of you don't know this, but I was doing this prior to the internet. I used to do newsletters and put them in people's mailboxes until the post office told me that wasn't a federal offense. It was a violation. That was in the late 86, 87, 88, 89. This is not new to me because the internet came about. In fact, the internet saved my life because many of you don't know that I've had 4 heart surgeries. I've lost 30% of my memory. I've lost a large array of words. I had such a great vocabulary at one time, and I can't remember a lot of words. And so I get on, and I have to have things written down all over the place so that I'll remember what I feel God is telling me to say. Now, let's get into the subject matter. I was on my soapbox. Many of you know I get on a soapbox, right? Into the subject matter. I was on my soapbox. Many of you know I get on a soapbox, right? So let's get into the subject matter. Black slave masters. After all we've been through as a people, what would make us become, in absentia, the person who destroyed us mentally, morally, spiritually, took away our God, our belief system, our heritage, split us away from our people, made us to think that we were less than what we were. They were jealous of our inheritance, and then they took it. Napoleon and all of them just took it. And originally, the black man, the Asiatic black man, the originator of the planet Earth, the indigenous people, were not a violent people. We had the power to kill easy. But the thing about having the power to kill, and I'm going to use an analogy of the street. When street folks, gang members, are people who are tough, when they think you don't have guns or you don't have the heart to shoot back, they will bully you. They will bully you constantly until you fight back. But once they realize that whatever they bring your way, you're going to send it back to them, whether you claim blood, Crip, GD, BD, folks, whatever. Once they realize that, they will be very careful how they deal with you as a person. God created us, created himself out of triple stage of darkness, out of a thought, created us. But the greatness of the God that we're looking for, which is within us, is that God understood that there was a tug of war between the God that desired to do what was required and the God that desired to do what made them feel good. So in the book of Genesis, God says, I got 2 trees. I got to give you choice. Parents stop giving their children choice. I know I'm a father of 7, raised them all, got custody of my children. I took care of my boys. I got 6 boys, 1 girl. I am what you call an involved father. But because of my trials and tribulations on the street, I tried to protect all of my children from those elements. And guess what happened? They ended up getting involved with it anyway, because I was trying to block them from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because I told them, I don't think that you are strong enough to come back from that. So God puts in the garden, tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life. He said, choose the tree of life. You don't have to go through the vicissitudes and the trials and the tribulations when you do it God's way. But inside of us is this desire to do what we want to do. You can see it in children when they get a certain age, even when they're young. No, mine, mine. And if they can't keep it, they're going to cry. And if they can't keep it, they'll break it. And if you tell them no, they'll steal it. They'll take it. A child is not born an angel. A child is not tried yet. Once you're tried, you find out what you really are. And in the Holy Quran, it says, in the chapter, in the surah entitled The Spider. It says, do men think that they will be left alone on saying that they believe and will not be tried? And indeed, God has tried men before them so that he would know those who were truthful and he would know the liars. Now, if God created you, wouldn't he already know if you were a liar or if you were telling the truth? But there is a part of God in each one of us that thinks that if we were given the opportunity to do this, this, and this, that we would do right. But in the essence of that thought of doing right is the desire, and desire fuels the will. So most of us desire things that excite us. This boring path of going to church, going to mosque, I want to go party. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. God understood that. But what is the best way to teach a person a lesson than to allow them to go through it? If I keep telling you, you're going to get your behind beat if you keep messing with that dude and you keep messing with him and I keep blocking him from whipping your behind, one day I got to move out the way and let him bust your behind. Now, after he busts your behind, either you're going to understand and respect him, you're going to learn how to get up on your fight game, you're going to want to kill him because your ego won't allow you to take a whipping, or you're going to reflect on what you were told and ask for forgiveness and ask for balance in everyday life, one or the other. The thing with us is, black people, we get a little bit of knowledge, or we get a vision, or we get a dream, and we think that we think that we are the holy one and no one else knows anything. Therefore, we cut the line, the assembly line, we cut it. We say we don't need no person to make the doors. We don't need no person to make the tires. We don't need nobody to make the exhaust system. Just follow me and believe in God, and it will get made by our belief. So church pushes belief. But here's the caveat. Here's the thing. The church and many of the mosques and many of the synagogues push belief in this world. So this world has already set up a system that if you follow step 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll get 5. But in following these things, you are helping to build this world. And the scripture says specifically, if I can find it, do not be conformed to this world. Let me see if I can find that. Let's go to Romans 12, King James Version of the Bible. Romans 12, we're going to start at 1. Says, let me put that up on the screen over here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it. Lord, help me. Y'all be patient. Thank you for tuning in on TikTok. Hey, whatever you post up, I don't care. I thank you for tuning in. My job is not to fire back at you and debate with you. My job is simply to say what I'm supposed to say, and that's it. I might read the comments, I might not, but all I'm praying, and I thank you for commenting, which means you're listening. But there is another ear that we have to listen with. He who has ears, let him hear. Because once a person thinks that they know more than you, they don't hear anything. They listen. And in listening, immediately they decide whether what you're saying is for them. I don't need to hear that. I know all about that, man. I'm in the streets. The young folks are right off the top. I know. Well, how do you know? So if they think they know, they're not listening. But when a person hears you, it might be 5 years down the line and they might say, I remember hearing Jamil say, and then they go back and analyze it. You understand? So he who has wisdom, let him hear. He who thinks he knows everything, decide for yourself. Romans 12. And I want to say this about this book called Bible, and I've said it 1,000 times in my journey, thank God. If you go to the beginning of the intro of the book, it said specifically, The Holy Bible containing Old and New Testament, transferred out of the original tongue and with the former translations diligently compared and revised, commonly known as the Authorized King James Version. Diligently compared and revised. Then said it was 100% accurate. Said it was diligently compared according to their ability to compare. They did the best they could, and then somebody else came in and fixed the book. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's get to this Romans 12, live living sacrifice. Romans 12:1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Present your bodies with a reasonable service. See, a person who never drank liquor, who never got addicted to alcohol, boy, they can run down on you hard about the liquor, but they have never been through alcohol withdrawal. Yet they condemn you for what they've never experienced. So it says here, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world. This is what I'm getting to. But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. We must be able to prove it with our life. And here is the spoiler. This world set up a system for this world that says if you get something new, if you got a lot of nothing, if you got a lot of money, if you got a lot of women, if you're having a lot of sex, if you got a little beauty, if you don't have a butt, you can buy one. If you don't have lashes, you can buy some. If you don't have eyebrows, you can buy some. This world made it seem like those were the things that the shallow things that God approves of. So as I said in the beginning, we take this world as the heaven that we think God is talking about, but the kingdom of heaven is within us. So it says here, be ye not conformed to this world. And the majority of people we know, from preachers to pastors to politicians to entrepreneurs, lawyers, doctors, all of them, capitalistic entities for this world. Because this world is based on capitalism. Money over everything. No matter who you got to run over, who you got to hurt, who you got to damage, money over everything. I'm coming to a point now. Stay with me. Just stay with me a little while. And if you can't, come back later on. Share it. Pass it on. This is not a hard thing to comprehend. I'm not going into the esoteric or the metaphysical or the alchemistic side of things, although God has given me the ability to do that. It's not necessary at this point. We got to come down to the people, give them our master grip, and pull them out of the grave. We can't stay up because God even had to come down. The scriptures, God says, I will come down now and see if the cries are altogether what I hear. Oh boy. Here we go. So be not transformed, be not conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. All right, let me get my picture back up here. Give me a minute. Why did I title this Black Slave Master? I'm going to put a little bit of that out there right now. The purpose of Satan and Satan's world is to keep us in a loop. Everything in a cyclical motion. I did a commentary entitled The Wheel of Samsara. That's on the 19 Report on YouTube, Jamil Salib Zamir, years ago. You ever hit rock bottom? You are up, you hit rock bottom, you get back up, you hit rock bottom, you get back up, you hit rock bottom. But each time you get up, you think it's going to be different, but you continuously do the same thing. You ever seen a movie called Happy Death Day? Or Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray, how the cyclical motion of each day continues until we change the pattern in our thinking and in our actions? Well, some people continue the same pattern, the same belief system in their stubborn ignorance until they die. That was the purpose of the slave master. That was the purpose of Satan, to make us think that because we were moving, we were progressing. So on every street corner, a liquor store, a church. On every street corner, liquor store, a name of a fallen black leader, and a church. Then the churches got bigger and bigger and bigger. And let me say this. I always go in on churches, but not sideways. I understand the African Methodist Church. Some of their folks invited me to one of their apartment complexes. In fact, they have an apartment complex in Florence, the AME apartment complex. I talk about the NAACP, the Urban League. The Urban League has apartment complexes. Many of these churches have banks. Many of these organizations have banks and powerful organizations because they are in the world. Unfortunately, a lot of them are of the world, but a lot of them are not. So they utilize these things to build. And these are the things that we must accumulate in order to grow in this world. But at the same time of growing, we must keep our minds focused on the author of our growth. Now, I want to point this out real quick. The Pharisees asked Jesus a question about the kingdom of heaven. The Pharisees, the phrase, the kingdom of heaven is within you signifies, I'm reading now, quote, the Pharisees, the kingdom of heaven is within you signifies that God's kingdom is not just an external realm, but is present within the hearts of believers. I'm going to say that again. God's kingdom is present within the hearts of the believer. God says in the Bible that he will test the reins of the heart, and he will know those who were truthful, and he will know the liars. I just told you of the Quran in the Surah 19, where it talks about everybody going through trials so that God would know those who are true and he would know the liars. In all of the pain and suffering that we went through as a people during our sojourns through slavery, comprehend this well. The indigenous people in this place called Turtle Island at one time, during the period of chattel slavery, black folks were already here. Black folks had already established wealth. Black folks walked around the same streets with white folks. Black folks knew just as much as white folks, just as intelligent, because we're the author of that. And then they put out this movie entitled 12 Years a Slave. If you look at the movie closely, there were black folks walking around who weren't slaves. It was just some that still had, what do you call them? Slave, they still had, they were in the business of slavery. And if they snatched you up off the street and claimed you, then you were back in the arms of slavery. Janelle Monáe, I think, in the movie Antebellum, where they were deep in the woods, still practicing slavery, but she escaped and ended up coming out and finding out that the world had moved on. I did a commentary about black slave owners and how brutal they were to their own black people. And I did another commentary from God, black skin is not enough. And another one, black folks in high places will not save us. Why would I talk that way about my own people? Because you begin to understand that they don't want to see the rest of us rise to where they are. They want us to be beneath them and worship them and idolize them. So within us, black people, because you can check the genealogy, you can check the DNA, you can check the genetics. White folks came from us. So whatever they manifest was in us. And the manifestation of the Caucasian and his willingness to go to the depths of debauchery is the manifestation of what black people are willing to do the same thing. So out of God's mercy, he allowed us to be introduced to some of the worst activity that we've ever seen in our lives in the person of Caucasians from the Caucasus Mountain. This, argue it all you want. I'm fine with that. So in looking at them and how they brutalized us, how they would take the biggest black man, the one who was the chief. I took a trip to Jamaica once, myself and 3 friends. We got off the ship. There was a young boy that jumped in the water off the edge, and he swam all the way out there to us. And he said, please, sir, give me some money, sir. Anything will do, sir. And there was a black police officer, Jamaican, came running down the, where the boat, the dock. Get away from here. Get away from here. I can't stand when they do that. Let me take a drink of water. And I looked at her and I said, he's you. But she separated herself from her own suffering because she was given a better position than them. That's how Satan works in the mind of a weak spiritual person. Then a Caucasian came up and he's talking to me because you can talk to me. I'm very approachable. Yeah, I would have given them something. I feel sorry for them. I said, them? You just got off a boat to come to their island. So we got there, short story. And I'm talking to a gentleman who's giving us the tour, and he started calling me the chief. You're the chief. I said, no, I'm not. Why are you calling me the chief? You speak for all of them. You're the one with heart. You're the chief. So I had this long video of interviews that I did on Jamaica where they were pointing out where Michael Jordan owned all of these big mansions. Tom Cruise owned a hotel. And if you buy one side of the street, you own the other side. They're not going to tell everybody this information, but they said it to me. They told us about when the hurricane hit Jamaica, how America wouldn't help them and the Queen of England helped them. And so they say, thank God for the Queen of England. So now Haiti, Jamaica, most of these places are owned by Caucasians and Japanese people. Black slave masters, how we become our worst enemies. See how much time I got left. Uh-oh. Yeah. I think that I X'd off of my feed. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's keep going. This was a trying situation because I didn't X off. I didn't X off. Yes, I did. I did X off. But this was trying for me because it was a lot. So I thank you for tuning in again. I'm recording it so I'll be able to upload it later. We're talking about black slave masters and how we became our worst enemies. So God put us in a position, but he left within us. I think I'm going to try to get back on Facebook. Oh, no, I'm still on. Yeah, I'm still on. One, two. Yeah, I'm still on. So, anyway. Let me drag this over. I'm sorry. Jamil be making a mess, man. Y'all forgive me for 1 second. I'm sorry. We'll be closing in a minute. I just wanted to check the time. Yeah, this is another video on Facebook. I apologize. We had to redo it again on Facebook as always. So anyway, let's close. Black folks, as a sign of disrespect, were called the N-word, Nigger. And that was a harsh word because words carry vibration. Words carry power. And to call us a Nigger, whether you said it with a smile on your face, with wrinkles in your face, or with no expression at all carried the same vibration. White folks did it, and it demeaned and degraded us for over 200 years. The minute we got an opportunity to speak freely, we started calling each other the same thing. I'm talking about black slave masters. In absentia, in the ghetto, in the hood, where white folks are no longer present amongst us, where we should be able to talk and build and grow, we're degrading each other as the N-word, degrading our women as the B-word, B-I-T-C-H. We became what we claim to despise because within us was that same seed of rebellion. But because we stopped looking within ourselves for the answer to things, God's mercy took that seed of rebellion out of us and put it right in our face for us to see it. And we began making every excuse in the world to accept the sin. White folks were not sinners to themselves. They built an entire world, a banking system, a school system, a medical system. They built going on a space system. They built all of these things. That's theirs. But what have we built of our own? What can the gangs do in the community if they take over? What have they built? Do they have a blood bank, a Crip bank, a GD bank, a BD bank, where you can go and borrow money? Even if it's loan shark money, 30, 40, 50, 100% on the dollar, is it there? Is there a blood apartment? No, you just claim it. Is there a BD apartment? No, you just claim it. But when they tell you to leave, you got to leave. When the police coming to arrest you, you got to go. Our biggest and toughest gangster killers, when the police came, they put their hands behind their back and they went to prison. And if they got the death penalty, our biggest and toughest killers laid down on the table, allowed someone to put a needle in their arm. Their gang buddies didn't bust into the jail and take over the jail and escape with their people. Only people that did that was Joanne Chesimar, a few people that the Black Panthers during that time. Black slave masters, we know our place. We know how to bully our community. You got, right here in Clarendon County, you got politicians, crooked as heck, who purchase properties in decent neighborhoods and move in people they know are not conducive to the way the neighborhood is trying to grow just for $1. Slumlords. But they smile and grin all the time. And the only reason I don't say their name is not out of fear. Because I'm at the point now in my life where if God say strap on a bomb and kill them MFs, you gonna die along with me. Because that is the only answer we got to this system. Kill them, because God is killing them. But the pain of that is that the good suffers with the bad, because if only the bad died, then the good will not speak. It's only when a parent loses a child to violence that they all of a sudden become an advocate. But prior to that, they're not doing nothing for the community. So pain and suffering is the only thing that get us to get up and do something. Other than that, you just talking because you haven't experienced anything. So a person who is not addicted to sex can tell you sex is wrong. Person who ain't addicted to marijuana, addicted to drugs, can tell you that it's wrong. And the success, our growth, will come from keeping our children from it and not opening up Pandora's box to start with. But every single thing that the slave master used to enslave us to their world, they have backed away, and we've become the brand new slave masters. Y'all hearing me? We stomp our people out on the streets now. We rape the women. We pimp the women. We put fear in the young minds of our children. We misdirect their abilities to foolishness. Nah, man, be a rapper. Be an entertainer, man. Be a stripper, man. Be a basketball player. But we don't have no systems that can make a world function without this world. And the scripture is saying, be ye not conformed to this world. So it's talking about 15,000 churches closing down and becoming areas for civil conversation. What do you think gonna happen? This was intended. In other words, they're gonna say, we gave y'all a chance, but y'all blew it. We gave y'all money during COVID, but y'all blew it. Y'all went out and tried to act like y'all was rich. And of course, I don't give a scenario without a solution. Today, someone hit me up this morning and said, Unc, I need some words of encouragement. Give me some Bible verses or some surahs. And I gave them to him. And the main reason I gave them to him the way that I gave them to him is because I want him to understand that the battle is internal. Don't even worry about what's going on outside so much. But the internal fight is the only way we're going to beat this world, because we have become what we once condemned. And now you got young people on the internet with long programs trying to discredit Dr. King, trying to discredit all of the civil rights leaders. They were fighting for civil rights. We needed it at the time. What are you fighting for, sirs and ma'ams, that claim that we let y'all down? What do you have that is a long-term investment for the future? A parent is a parent. A child is the second parent. A big brother is like the father in absentia. You're supposed to be a fatherly figure to your little brother. Are you doing that? Father, mother figure to your little sister. Are you doing that? Are you teaching our children how to be the worst version of themselves? That's what the slave master did. That was their purpose, to teach us to be the worst version of ourselves. And they drilled that into us. They raped us until we liked it. Now our women got to be choked. They got to be pounded on. It got to be a big old long phallus to get inside of them, missing the whole purpose of what the key and the lock, the vagina and the penis are for. To create the magic elixir that if we're thinking the same and we're working towards the same and we work together and we come together intimately thinking the same, that we can manifest what we think. That is the alchemy. Love is supposed to be there before sex is ever introduced. Let me read this. We're getting ready to close because everything is so mixed up, and I'm sorry about that. I really am. I didn't plan it this way, but today I had to come on. I have not been on for almost 3-4 months like this, and maybe longer than that. But I had to take a hiatus. Someone called me. And I want to make this very clear, because we got all these philosophers out there now, dudes coming from prison, and they think podcasting going to make them rich, so they got to answer to everything. Only thing you got to answer to is prison life. That's all you got. The solitude of prison life is not the same solitude as being a free man, because in prison there's a system set up, and out here there's a system set up. Play your position. Going back to being on the assembly line, okay? We building the kingdom of heaven, but each individual had to be given a little piece of that kingdom in order that we could come together and make that kingdom, black, white, red, brown, and yellow. But God said he would come to black people first because we were in the worst condition. That's just what it is. Ain't nobody coming to save black people unless they black. That's just what it is. You got to study us for years in order to be able to comprehend how deep the damage done to us. You can't come to somebody talking about Jesus will take care of it. How Jesus going to take care of a psychological issue that nobody knows but the person who's going through the psychological issue? They're talking to you one day and you feeling, yeah, they're getting better, but they're dying. And you can't help them, preachers. God didn't give y'all that kind of power. Certainly prayer and hope will build, regenerate positive cells in the body. But when it's time to go, it's time to go. I had 4 heart surgeries. And on the second one, I sat my companion on the side of the bed and I told her I can't make it like this. And if I die, it's not that I gave up, but I'm just tired. I called my oldest son and I was like, look after your brother. I'm depending on you. I was ready to die. But I'd be darned if I didn't come back to life after they finished operating on me the 3rd time. And they laughed at me because in the operating room when I woke up, I said, I ain't going through this no more. And they started laughing like, how are you talking so clear? Because in my slumber, I was traveling to different places. I was in the Alps with the snow, and then I traveled to like Hawaii. It was beautiful. I was astral projecting, and it was beautiful. I didn't want to come back here, but it wasn't my time. The preacher can't tell you when your time is. I don't care how many people preach over you. It is being manifested now that the ministers of religion, the ministers of, what do they call it, Afrocentric knowledge and all that, all of them got demons in their closet, myself included. I was masturbating when I was in the 8th grade. I stumbled upon it, just looking at a dirty magazine. Nobody told me about nothing. And the magazines that went in our house, boy, my sisters were reading, were always books about incest. So I'm reading it, and I grow up looking at family members like I'm going to have sex with them, messed up in the head. I don't mind telling you this stuff. I want you to know what we going through, and I have people who call me who are infected with HIV, full-blown AIDS, who are drug addicts, and I encourage them. What you went through, God put you through, allowed you to make it through so that you can tell your story. I don't mind telling y'all my story. But when you spill your seed to foolishness, you become foolish. And that's what happened to us. So do you know, in closing, in Chicago, they were putting chemicals in the night lights, and those chemicals seeped out at night to test and see how those chemicals would react in the ghetto. There is a documentary called Pruitt-Igoe, where they built this brand new apartment complex for white folks, but black folks start moving in. So they decided, the government did this, to start pumping chemicals off the top of the building to see what effect it would have on the residencies of Pruitt-Igoe. And they just became savage. So that savageness you see in Chicago, that's mental illness. That's chemical experimentation. You know about Tuskegee. But do you know that they test our people in prisons? I have read a book, and I'll post it up later, and it's called The Delectable Negro. How they experimented on black people in prisons to break their prison time. How they ate black people, Nat Turner and others. I'm not teaching hate. I'm trying to get you to understand something that's vitally important. You can't teach religion with the image of a white guy that was painted by a white man who said that he thought Jesus should look like his people, and that's why he painted him that way. Caesar Borgia. But after him, I did a commentary on it. And our people, black people, when we talk about Jesus, we are talking with vigor and energy about a white man. But that's theirs. And the only reason we believe in the white is because of Stockholm Syndrome. There's a book out called the Stockholm Institute where they experimented. I have the book. It is a huge book, very expensive book. The Stockholm Institute and all the experiments that they did, not only on whites, but on blacks too. Not only on blacks, but on whites too. because they got to control everybody. They killed John Lennon and all the white folks, Robert Kennedy and all of them for the same reason. You cannot reveal what we're doing. What is the title? In closing, Black Slave Masters, How We Became Our Worst Enemies. So the same damage that they did with those experiments, we now, from China, they produce it, send it to Mexico, they pack it up, and they send it over here, and we sell all of the drugs that experiment on our people in the ghetto. And those people who sell the drugs brag about it, show you all of their money for killing their people, all of their cars and all this, like they something special. You are just an extension of the damage done to us by this Caucasian that you claim you hate. So when you ask why we are still in the condition that we are in, it's because of us. Because we have not cried out and say we are tired of it. We don't want it no more. Be ye not conformed, but be ye transformed. I want to read this real quick. This is out of the Bible too, and then we're going to close. I'm going to start at Mark 27. We're going to go all the way down to 33. Then we're going to close, I think. It says, and Jesus went out, quote, it says, and Jesus went out and his disciples in the towns of Caesarea, Philippia. And by the way, he asked his disciples, saying unto them, whom do men say that I am? And they answered, John the Baptist, but some say Elijah, and others one of the prophets. And he said unto them, but whom say ye that I am? And Peter answered and saith unto him, thou art Christ. And he charged them that they should tell no man of him. Do you understand that? When you find out who God really is, you can't just run out there and tell people. It has to be shown. So most of the people who are out there pointing at this image about this Christ, this Lord, this blah, 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 they don't know what the heck they're talking about. They are part of a system. Now, they can give you motivational messages. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to downplay church. That's why I said in the beginning all the great things that they're doing with banks and schools. And I listen to the whole message. I'm not degrading anybody. 31. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders of the chief priests and scribes and be killed after 3 days rise again. And he spake that saying openly. And Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Peter rebuking Jesus. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but the things that be of men. This is all about what people want to have that is of men. That's what this is about. Nobody wants to give their life for this thing. Preachers want to retire now, but if you claim to be a preacher, you got to preach until you die. Because what has been done to us as a people ain't going to get done in your 10, 20 years of preaching unless you sick. Unless you feeble-minded. In closing, take up your cross. Young man texted me today about giving him a message, and I told him, you are Christ. And you got to take up your cross, and those things that you desire that bring you pleasure, you got to master them. And I talk from a place of experience because after I cut my hand and destroyed my hand, I got addicted to pain pills. And when I realized I was addicted, I tried to get off, and that damaged my heart muscles. And they told me I could never get off. And I prayed, and I broke those pills into pieces until my body gradually got off of those pills. They had a great lawsuit about it, and I was supposed to be paid handsomely for my suffering. But you know what the lawyer said I had to do? He said I had to lie and say that I was addicted to heroin before I got addicted to those pills. I couldn't do it. Sometimes I wish I did, because my settlement would have been exponential. Take up your cross, quote, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, whosoever will come after me. See, you got to look at the people who really take up their cross. I said in the beginning that 15,000 churches will close in 2025, 100,000 within the next few years. Jesus never had a church. This is the solution. Jesus never had a church. Jesus went from place to place, teaching the word of God. Some people liked it. Some people did not. Those who hated it killed him. He didn't run from death. He went up on the mount. Okay, this is saying that my live will end in 4 minutes on TikTok. I thank y'all for tuning in. I don't know how well we're doing on Facebook, but we're 51 minutes in. I hope it records right so I can re-upload it. And when he had called the people unto him with his disciples, also he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel of the same shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my word in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. In the beginning, we were not allowed to teach Christianity because they had to, Nat Turner was teaching the Christianity that white folks taught. Then Nat Turner got a vision and started teaching freedom to black people, and they killed him. One of his own sold him out. So the religion that we were given under white folks' tutelage was never to save us. It was always to make us a better, conducive slave, docile slave. And most of us are teaching that same concept today because we are afraid to take up the cross of Christ. And Christ went on the mount and was tested by Satan. And Christ cried out to God saying, take this bitter cup away from me. But if it is your will, then let me die the way you say I'm going to die. And he said, you must die in order to live. And if you choose to live in this world, then you dead already. So most of the people who are teaching you religion are teaching it verbatim out of the book, and they're dead already because they are carrying on the mindset, the mission, and the purpose of white supremacy. And this world, the capitalistic society, is systematic racism, white supremacy. And everything we teach is from that perspective. So we don't even think ourselves good enough unless we get some award or some certificate or something from this world that says you are good enough. So who do we believe in? Black slave master, how we became our own worst enemy. Because we have forgotten ourselves. We have forgotten our path. We have forgotten our way back to God. And he is merciful in his attempt to bring us back. So what we are suffering from is trauma bonding. We're 54 minutes in. Trauma bonding refers to the strong emotional attachment that develops between an abused person and their abuser. White folks abused us. Now we abuse ourselves. We call ourselves the N-word. We beat ourselves. We cause trouble in our own communities. We come in and we tear up our own communities. We destroy our own selves. We rape our own women. We're sleeping with our own sisters, our own brothers. We're doing it now by choice. Trauma bonding or Stockholm syndrome. This bond can lead to the victim idolizing the abuser. We idolize white folks. Why do you think it is the minute that we start to sell drugs, we want to get expensive clothes? We want to get those things that white folks got. We want to get the cars that white folks got. We want to get the things that says that we are better than this world, but this world is nothing but a creation of Satan. This is Satan's world, according to Thessalonians. So the bond can lead to the victim to idolizing the abuser despite the presence of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Trauma bonding typically involves manipulating, control, and intermittent affection. You get a little bit of happiness out of it, creating a complex relationship dynamic that can be difficult to break. Recognizing the signs of trauma bonding is crucial for those seeking to escape abusive relationships. So we are in a voluntary relationship with Satan. We teach his way. We go to his schools. We manifest from his perspective. You can go to college and take that knowledge and build something for you and your people, or you can choose to take that knowledge and build something to manifest and continue on with the world that you live in. It's all choice. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of the tree of life. You make the choice. Black slave masters, everything that they did to us, we are now